Right, how are we doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. In the last video we talked about the shoulders and the importance of, quite simply, just understanding that the shoulders are supposed to rotate at the start of the downswing, which seems incredibly obvious hopefully, and not create any sort of massive tilting motion. And then I also kind of quickly demonstrated how the different types of hip rotation affect how things look as well. But the core principle was that the shoulders need to rotate. And what we're talking about is very much this transitional period, which basically means by the time we get to lead arm horizontal, we want the pelvis back to square to target, and we want to be generating club head speed, or the correct sequence to help us generate more club head speed. So we're breaking it down into one body part at a time just to add a little bit of clarity as to what's going on. And today we're going to be talking very much about the trail hand. Now what will happen, as I demonstrated in the last video, is that if I swing up to the top and face you again, and I initiate the downswing with a lower body motion, and then my lead shoulder starts to work across as well, you can see the way this motion is what pulls my lead arm down. Now, what also needs to happen is that basically we need the right arm to stay bent in the initiation in towards the downswing, because if it starts to straighten, it's going to cast the club, shall we say. But what the other functionality of this trail hand is going to do is it's going to help us keep the club coming down on plane. Right, so basically the shaft of the golf club needs to point down towards our ball to target line in this early transition. So as I face you guys, as my arm stays bent, you can see the way the shaft is vertically placed, and I've not started to kind of release it in this sort of manner, losing a lot of energy. But also from a side-on perspective, you can see the way that the shaft stays more on plane, or if not, it can slightly shallow depending on the orientation again of, say, my forearm and elbow. But this is how it's going to go wrong. If you swing up to the top and you don't drive your elbow, you're either going to cast, or your elbow is going to get left to the side of you and the shaft is going to come down too vertically, which then means you're going to have to shallow it out later, which then means that there's going to be a vulnerability of inconsistency in the club path and the descent angle coming in towards the hit. So what do? Well, like I said in the last video, you should have spent a little bit of time on moving forward. You spend time working on your hip rotation and shoulder rotation. Then what you've got to do is, you might be one of those that notices, oh yeah, I can do that, but oh yeah, my elbow's still up here. Where it's like, yeah, you've got to start driving it to the side of your body as you're doing this sort of motion, right? And then what you should start to feel is the activation of your lats down the trail side. You should start to feel a force building underneath this arm, as much as a force potentially building down this left arm as well. As everything starts to happen, if I do it slowly, yeah, I am rotating, so my shoulder's moving that way, my right arm is moving this way to the side of my body, so it's kind of stretching this area, and then all of a sudden it starts to feel like I'm creating more of a load, and then we can start to down cock the club and generate a decent amount of club head speed. So hopefully you enjoy the video and you understand the direction where we're going. I think that breaking it down will help a lot of people at home understand what it is you do well and what it is you do incorrectly. So for example, if you're somebody whose elbow is popping out, then what you don't want to do is you don't want to just start driving your elbow, because you need to make sure that you are turning as well. Then it might be worthwhile doing some pump drills, right? Pump drill meaning that you would swing up to the top and you would just do everything and just rehearse this transition together, so that you can get the feeling for what's right and what's wrong and what you're doing and what's getting left out. So hopefully you enjoy the video. Always appreciate one of those. Remember, it's absolutely free to press that subscribe button. If you're going to do so, you might as well press the little bell icon, so you'll receive notifications every time a new video comes out. Work on those shoulders in transition, lower body leading, driving the elbow. All of a sudden we start to have something which is going to be very desirable.